Welcome back to my channel, everybody. And if you're new, well, hey, what's up? What's good? Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Today, I'll be telling you about the different types of psychology you can study in South Africa. There is industrial/organizational, there's educational, there's counseling, there's clinical, there's research, and there's neuropsychology. So there are branches of sports and forensics, but they're not HPCSA accredited, I suppose. But those are other two types that you could do that just take you just have to go through different methods to get to your end goal. But I'm talking about the HPCSA one, so that's the sixth we're going to be talking about. I also chaptered this video, so then you can click the kind of psychology you want down here at the little red thing moves. So you can click it, or you can just open the description box and click on the time of the psychology that you are looking for. So we're going to start with clinical, my fave, and that one focuses on diagnosing and treating mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders, as well as consultations to agencies and communities. And by communities, then I mean like when they go and help out communities or go speak out at places or go to organizations and help them deal with the people who need a psychologist over there. Training, education, and supervision and research-based practice. So with this, you can see that it deals mainly with psychopathology. It's highly based on psychopathology, but it also has the counseling aspects. You can counsel people, you can talk to them, you can talk to them in like a mild duration of their issues and in a severe duration of their issues, you understand? So over here you can deal with people obviously who have mental disorders, severe mental disorders like schizophrenia and the such, and then you can also deal with people who just have day-to-day problems and issues. So it's like a best of both worlds, really, in my eyes. That's why I chose it. For people who care, that's why I chose it, because it's like a best of both worlds, because I don't fully all the time want to be dealing with like such heavy things, because as much as I love mental disorders, I'm too empathetic, rather. Let me say I'm too empathetic, and I really am like able to really get into my feels and into my zones. So I know for a fact I'm not going to want to deal with something so hard-hitting every single day. Not to even say that I'd get patients all the time who have like hard-hitting dilemmas, but yeah, I just like the best of both world aspects of it. And then some of the roles that a clinical psychologist can play would be assessing clients' needs through interview, psychometric tests, and observations, deciding on the most appropriate form of treatment, writing reports and going to case conferences, carrying out research, providing counseling and support. So there you can see the best of both worlds as I was talking about, and yeah, that's clinical. In terms of the studying of clinical, the first 3 years are ordinary psychology 3 years. Whichever university you go to is their ordinary, because they all differ. And then you have the 1 year of honors, or you can split it into 2 years of honors, and then after that you go into the master's degree of clinical psychology. Most of the South African, I'm pretty sure all the South African universities have clinical psychology, so you can go into it over there. And then that entails the 1 year or 2 years, and then an additional year for community work. So it's like clinical is the only one that's going to come with an additional one for community, so it makes it like a tad bit longer, but it is what it is. So next we're going to be looking at counseling psychology, which focuses on how people function personally and in their relationships at all ages, addressing the emotional, work, school, social, and physical health concerns people may have. It can also provide assessment and diagnosis and treatment of more severe psychological symptoms. So this usually gets like mishmashed with clinical, but as I said, in the clinical section, it's not exactly the same thing. It's rather that clinical has best of both worlds. It can be counseling, and it can be psychopathological. Is psychopathological a word? Sounds like it could be. We're going with it. Can be psychopathological. Oh, I can't say it. You heard me the first time. So with counseling instead, you are really just dealing with people's day-to-day dilemmas, and you're dealing with the mild versions of their dilemmas, their hardcore stresses. Some of the counseling psychology focuses would be individual, family, and group counseling and psychotherapy, crisis intervention, disaster and trauma management, assessment techniques for the diagnosis of psychological disorders, consulting with organizations, program evaluation and treatment outcome, training, clinical supervision, test construction, validation, research methodologies for scientific investigation. The trauma management and the crisis intervention part is what really gets to show what counseling psychology would be more like. So like traumas and for like when you go to Lifeline and you're helping them out and stuff like that, those kinds of dilemmas that you deal with, it's more counseling like. That's why somewhat kind of more like when you want to be a counselor, but then with a counselor they can't do like over here says psychotherapy, they cannot do the psychotherapy part. So this over here is like a higher step of being a counselor, because here you can deal with, like I said, the milder mental disorders, and you deal with more like research stuff that's got more psychology like into it and stuff like that. So yeah, that is counseling psychology. To do counseling psychology, once again, the normal 3 undergrad years, 1 honors year, and then you do it in masters. You select it in masters. You can select counseling psychology and masters in counseling psychology, and then that is 2 years, because it's 1 year regular stuff. I mean, I'm not a master's student yet, guys, so like but it's 2 years of masters, and then that's it for counseling. And then, or it could be 1 year. I think some universities have 1 year, but then I really want to count the internship year as a, you know, as a year, because you can't really do it without the internship year. So it's 2 years, you understand? So next we're going to do neuropsychology. Neuropsychology is dedicated to understanding the relationship between brain and behavior, seeing as those relationships could be applied to the diagnosis of brain disorder, assessment of cognitive and behavioral functioning, and design of effective treatment. Assess and treat people with brain disorders that affect memory, learning, attention, language, reading, problem solving, and decision making. So as we can all guess and try and understand, it has a lot to do with the brain. It has a lot to do with the understanding of the brain and the workings of the brain, so that you can find another outcome. Neuropsychologists normally work with clinical psychologists. They can work with counseling psychologists. Psychologists really like interweb with each other, and they really work together hand in hand and stuff like that. So neuro would really help either like a clinical psychologist who's trying to go deeper into someone who has like trauma that they can't really quite touch on. So the neuropsychologist would try and like understand now the brain workings and stuff like that, because there are some people who like gain disorders off of something happening to their brain, like they weren't born with it. Some people could be born with a mental disorder, some people don't. Some people it like forms and develops, or like I'm saying, a traumatic experience happens or an accident happens, and then you wind up having something shaking up basically your brain, and then the neuropsychologist can come in then and then try and understand the brain and the workings and what happened to now lead to this person having A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You understand? So yeah, neuropsychology, as far as I understand, UCT at the time of this recording is the only one that takes neuropsychology. So if you want to do neuropsychology, you have to go to UCT. And yeah, so neuropsychology, in their website at UCT, I will put it up on the screen. They do say that you have to have 70 for your BA honors or 70 for the neuropsychology honors, because as I've seen even at UNISA where I did my honors, there is a separate, because there's 3 types of honors over there, so there's a separate kind that has neuropsychology within it, so you can take it at honors level. So just search around for that to see how it would work well for you. Okay, we'll move on to educational psychology. It is the study of how humans learn and retain knowledge, primarily in educational settings like classroom, emotional, social, and cognitive learning processes. May conduct research and studies relevant to education, evaluate and analyze certain teaching methods, testing methods, and educational programs, as well as evaluating existing educational resources. They can create or develop new ones. So here, as we can see, it's more doing with like either classroom kind of problems, or rather seeing those problems, researching those problems, and trying to find a way out of it. So it's very education based. So it's still psychology, but it just has a more refined touch and look into education. It has everything to do with education. You want to know how to improve education. You want to know how other people used education to do something. You want to know how people's educational background and aspects are working for them, and stuff like that. So it focuses on teaching and testing methods, classroom environment and learning, social and behavioral problems that could impede learning. So again, we can see how it has a lot to do with learning and a lot to do with education. In terms of the studying aspect of educational psychology, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it was kind of making me dizzy, but from what I understand, I could be very much corrected. From what I understand, you go through the education route. It's an education kind of thing, so you have to go through, because normally, like for the others I spoke of, you start with psychology, you just go into the department of psychology, but here you go into the Department of Education. So it's the education route, and then there is educational psychology within it, and then you study that. And then, because I will put it up on the screen, as you can see, this is from UP and UJ, it does say that you need the background from studying education in your undergrad. So then you have to go the education route, and then you go on from there as a honors and then master's level, and that's how you do that. And then we're going to move on to industrial/organizational psychology, and this one focuses on the behavior of employees in the workplace, applying psychological principles and research methods to improve the overall work environment, including performance, communication, professional satisfaction, and safety. They are qualified as trainers, facilitators, assessors, coaches, and consultants. May also work directly in an organization, HR department, or as independent consultants who get called in. So as you can see, you can either work with an organization, like work in an HR department. I want to make an example with the TV show, but I don't know how many people watch it, so I won't. But let's say there is a law firm, and then within the law firm they need a psychologist, so you will work there full time, like you are employed by this law firm. Or you can employ yourself, and then the law firm will be like, oh, we need a psychologist right now, and then they'll call you in, and then you'll come in for like a week or a month, and then you'll see their people. You understand? So that's how industrial/organizational works. So it really depends on you, how you want to do it. Do you want to be within the law firm, or do you want to be your own person who just goes in when you're needed and come out when you're not needed? So it also focuses on identify training and development needs in areas such as productivity management and employee working styles, help companies address problems by coaching employees, developing performance evaluation criteria, and assessing marketing strategies. And that is industrial/organizational. In the studying aspect, industrial/organizational psychology has its own as well, just like educational does. You go through the economics faculty, so you go through or business, whatever it's called. I think it's economics though. You go through that faculty, and then you do industrial in the beginning because as your undergrad, then you do its honors, and then you do its masters. So it doesn't start with like a BA, it starts with its faculty thingy in its in its line. But that's how that one works as well. And then finally we're going to do research. I don't know why anyone, let me not lie, we need them, but like, whew, bless your soul, child. Research psychologists are trained in experimental methods and statistics, using their scientific methods to formulate and test hypotheses, develop experiments, and to collect and analyze data. Many research psychologists choose to work for private companies or organizations conducting studies pertinent to the purpose of their employer. So as a research psychologist, is also very, I suppose they're all over the place, honestly. As any kind of psychologist, you can work for yourself or you can work for somebody. It really depends on you. So here too, you can also work either, like it's saying, like in an organization, or you know, helping them do research, helping their research stuff. And the organization will obviously be very psychology based, so you'd be helping with those kind of research and stuff, you know, doing the stats and the analytics and the this, that, and the third. There's lots of things that go into research. It's not my field. I hate that every kind of psychology has research, but like I said, it's needed. But yeah, so as a research psychologist, you'd be dealing with all those kinds of like research stuff. So you can research your own stuff, you know, like, what is it, a dissertation? I can hardly ever say that word. So you can do like that kind of stuff and do your own researching. And like I'm saying, it's needed, because if people didn't research stuff in psychology, how would we ever really know things deeper, you know? Like I said in one of my psychopathology videos about antisocial personality disorder, you can find psychopathy within it. And you see, now how would we have known all that we know about psychopathy without researchers, you know? And eventually someday it's going to actually, like maybe the DSM-6, psychopathy is going to end up being its own disorder instead of being like a deeper version of ASPD, you understand? So we really do need researchers, because they do the researching, you know? clinical psychologists and all of us can also do researching, but I think you understand my drift. Yeah, you understand my drift, and I say that they're needed so that they can do like the analytics and the deeper dive into research in the studying aspect. Research is like the first two. Psychology is you do your undergrad 3 years, you do your honors, and then you pick it in your master's stage, because all honors really does have research, so you do it that way. But then you can either have your normal BA honors, or you can have, what is it, B Psych Soc honors, and then you do your research. So I hope this video was really helpful. Thank you so much for watching it, and stick around if you want more psych videos, guys. Just stick along. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye.